We all say communication is the key to a healthy relationship, but let's be honest, most of us were never taught how to do it. We think talking more means we're communicating better, but half the time, we're just reacting, defending, assuming, or shutting down. Real communication isn't about who talks louder or faster. It's about understanding. It's about safety. It's about being able to say what you actually feel, without fear of being judged, dismissed, or misunderstood. Because the truth is, most relationships don't fall apart from a lack of love. They fall apart because no one knows how to say the hard things and stay present through them. This video isn't about tips to win arguments. It's about learning to connect. So if you're tired of feeling unheard, walking on eggshells, or stuck in the same old patterns, you're in the right place. Let's break it down. Part 1. Stop talking to win. Talk to understand. Let's be real. Most of us aren't communicating in relationships. We're just reacting, waiting for our turn to speak, building our next point while the other person is still talking. And whether we realize it or not, what we're actually doing is trying to win. We want to be right. We want to be heard more. We want to protect our ego, prove our logic, defend our choices. But in all that effort to win, we forget what the whole point of communication even is: connection, understanding, getting closer, not scoring points. Think about it. How many arguments have you walked away from where you technically won, but still felt more distant? You got your way, maybe. You made your point, but now your partner's quieter, colder, less trusting, and you both feel a little more alone. Because here's the truth most people don't want to admit. Being right doesn't matter if the relationship loses. Healthy communication means dropping the need to dominate the conversation and actually leaning in to understand what's going on beneath the words. It means shifting your goal from "how do I convince them I'm right" to "what are they really feeling right now? And what are they trying to express, even if it's coming out messy?" When someone you care about says something that stings or frustrates you, pause. Don't go into defense mode. Don't treat their feelings like accusations. Ask yourself, what pain are they speaking from? Because behind every harsh sentence, every emotional outburst, every shutdown, is a deeper feeling they maybe never learn how to voice safely. That's the work. Listening for meaning, not just words. But it's hard, especially when you feel misunderstood or attacked. Your body goes into fight or flight. Your brain starts digging up old evidence. Your pride flares up, and in that moment, your instinct will be to protect yourself, not the relationship. That's normal, but you have to train yourself to do something different instead of going, "That's not true. You always twist things." Try, "Wait, what did you mean by that?" Because I want to understand you, not fight you. One sentence like that can de-escalate an entire storm. One moment of curiosity instead of control can completely change the outcome. You don't need to agree with everything your partner says. You don't even need to fix everything they feel, but you do need to make them feel heard. Because people stop communicating when they feel like their words don't matter. They shut down when they think no one's really listening. They're just waiting to counter. And that kind of environment kills connection. Slowly, quietly, one ignored feeling at a time. Ask yourself, am I trying to win? Or am I trying to understand? Because you can't do both. The strongest couples aren't the ones who never fight. They're the ones who know how to slow down the fight and find the meaning behind the words. They listen when it's hard. They respond instead of react. They speak with care, not just with facts. Real communication isn't a debate. It's a bridge. And every time you choose empathy over ego, you strengthen that bridge. Every time you put connection above being right, you move closer. And every time you show up willing to understand, even when you're hurt, you prove that this relationship is a safe place. And that is what lasts. Part 2. Use "I feel" instead of "you always." There's a moment in every argument where things shift. And it's usually when one person says something like, "You always do this," or "You never care," or "You just don't listen." Suddenly, it's not a conversation anymore. It's a battle. A defense line goes up. The other person stops hearing what you're trying to say and starts focusing on what they need to defend. That's the trap. And most of us fall into it without realizing that we get hurt. We feel dismissed, and we want to be understood. But instead of expressing our feelings, we start pointing fingers, blaming, generalizing. "You always," "You never," "You don't care." And as soon as those words leave your mouth, you've lost the connection. You might be speaking the truth of your pain, but the way it's coming out makes the other person feel attacked, and now they're no longer listening. They're protecting, and that's the tragedy in so many relationships. We're not bad people. We're not trying to hurt each other. We're just trying to feel seen, and no one taught us how. The shift happens when you stop blaming and start owning your feelings. When you stop saying, "You don't care about me," and instead say, "I feel really alone when I try to share something and it doesn't seem to land." That's not weakness. That's emotional courage. That's you being real without being aggressive, honest without being harmful. "I feel" opens doors. "You always" slams them shut. It might seem like a small change, just a few words, but it's massive, because when you lead with "I feel," you take responsibility for your emotions. You make it safe for the other person to hear you. You invite them into your experience, instead of pushing them away with blame. And yes, it's harder. It takes more vulnerability. It's way easier to say, "You're the problem," than it is to say, "I'm hurting, and I don't know how to express it without making things worse." But the second one is real. The second one is healing. Look, people shut down when they feel misunderstood or accused, but people soften when they feel safe. And one of the fastest ways to create safety in communication is to express your feelings, not your judgments. So next time something hurts, pause, breathe, ask yourself, what am I really feeling underneath the frustration? Is it rejection? Is it fear? Is it loneliness? And how can I share that instead of launching into attack mode? Because the goal isn't to win the argument. It's to bring clarity to the connection. And when you say, "I feel," you're not surrendering power. You're stepping into it. You're creating space for honesty. You're giving the other person a chance to show up better, instead of forcing them to shut down out of shame or panic. And you'd be surprised how different people respond when they don't feel blamed. When they hear, "I feel invisible lately, and I don't know how to fix it," instead of, "You never make time for me." When they hear, "I feel anxious when things go silent between us," instead of, "You just ignore me," it changes everything, because suddenly, you're not the enemy. You're their partner again. You're not pointing a weapon. You're holding out your hand. You're not proving they're wrong. You're letting them in. And that's how real connection is built. One honest sentence at a time. Part 3. Don't expect mind reading. Speak your needs clearly. Point: one of the most common reasons relationships fall apart is because someone keeps expecting the other person to just know. Know what you're feeling. Know what you need. Know what to say, when to say it, how to say it. And when they don't, when they miss it, or get it wrong, or stay silent, resentment builds. Quietly, slowly, until one day it explodes. But here's the truth. Your partner is not a mind reader. Even if they love you, even if they know you well, even if you've dropped hints, because love doesn't give people psychic powers. And a healthy relationship isn't built on how well someone can guess your needs. It's built on how clearly you're willing to express them. Most of us are terrified to say what we actually want. We think asking for reassurance makes us needy, that setting boundaries makes us difficult, that expressing frustration makes us unlovable. So instead, we stuff it down. We wait for them to figure it out. And when they don't, we assume they just don't care. But that's not communication. That's silent suffering. You have to say the thing. You have to use your voice, not in a harsh, demanding way, but in a clear, grounded, honest way. "I need you to check in more when we're apart. I feel anxious when plans change without a heads up. I really need you to listen without trying to fix it right away." That kind of honesty doesn't push people away. It gives them a map, because if you don't tell someone what you need, how are they supposed to meet it? And more importantly, how are you supposed to know if they even can? Clarity is kindness, not just to them, but to yourself. It allows you to stop guessing, stop assuming, stop holding people to expectations you never actually communicated. And yes, it's scary, because there's always the risk that they won't meet you there, that they won't give you what you need. But at least now you know, and you're no longer living in a relationship based on hopes and silent tests. Look, unspoken expectations are relationship poison. They lead to disappointment, distance, and passive aggression. But spoken needs? That's where connection grows. That's where safety lives. That's where both people get to show up as their real selves. Not perfect, not psychic, but present. So if something's bothering you, don't wait until you're already full of resentment. If something feels off, don't expect them to magically read your energy. If something matters to you, don't wait for it to come up naturally. Say it clearly, kindly, directly, because every time you communicate a need out loud, you're not just asking for something. You're also telling the truth. I matter. My emotions are valid. I deserve a relationship where I don't have to suffer in silence. That's what real intimacy is built on. Not perfection, not performance, but presence. And presence starts with speaking what's real, even when your voice shakes. Part 4. Validate before you defend. Point 1. Of the fastest ways to make a relationship feel unsafe is this. Your partner opens up about how they feel, and you jump straight into defense mode. They say, "That hurt me." And you say, "Well, that's not what I meant." They say, "I felt alone last night." And you say, "I was just tired. I didn't do anything wrong." They say, "I don't feel hurt." And you say, "You're being dramatic." It doesn't matter how logical your explanation is. If your first response is to defend, dismiss, or deflect, what your partner hears is, "Your feelings are inconvenient, and I care more about protecting my image than understanding your pain." That doesn't mean you're a bad person. Most of us do this. It's automatic. We don't want to be misunderstood, blamed, or painted as the villain, so we rush to correct the story. But when you defend before you validate, you shut the other person down. You make their emotional reality feel invalid. And once that happens, trust takes a hit. Connection fades. And slowly, they stop bringing things up at all, because no one wants to share their feelings with someone who always takes it personally. Here's the shift. Validation doesn't mean agreement. It doesn't mean you're wrong. It doesn't mean they're right. It means you're pausing your ego long enough to say, "I hear you. I see why that made you feel that way. And I care." That moment, that small act of validation, changes everything. Because now you're not fighting against each other. You're standing next to each other, facing the issue together. That's where healing starts. That IT sounds like, "I understand why that hurt you. That wasn't my intention, but I get how it landed that way. Thank you for telling me. That probably wasn't easy." You don't have to abandon yourself to validate someone. You don't have to roll over or take blame for things that aren't yours. You just have to pause the reflex to defend and give space for their experience to exist. Because when people feel seen, they stop yelling. When they feel safe, they open up. And when they feel validated, they actually become more open to hearing you. That's the irony. The very thing you want, to be understood, usually comes right after you've made the effort to understand them first. Next time your partner brings something up, don't rush to defend your case like it's a courtroom. Don't try to shut it down just because it makes you uncomfortable. Lean in. Ask questions. Listen longer than you usually do. You might learn something you didn't see before, and even if you didn't mean to cause harm, remember this: impact matters more than intention. You don't have to be guilty to be gentle. In a strong relationship, nobody wins an argument. The goal isn't to win, it's to understand each other more deeply, so the relationship itself wins. And that begins the moment you stop defending yourself and start being there for each other. Part 5. Timing matters. Not every moment is for deep talks. Point 1. Of the most overlooked parts of communication in a relationship isn't what you say, it's when you say it. Because timing matters. You can have all the right words, all the right intentions, all the emotional intelligence in the world, but if you bring up a deep issue in the middle of chaos, distraction, or exhaustion, it won't land. It'll feel like pressure, like an attack, like an emotional ambush. And suddenly, something that was supposed to bring you closer becomes another fight, another wall, another moment where your partner pulls away and you feel even more unheard. That it's not that they don't care, it's that you chose the wrong moment. Look, people can only process deep emotion when they feel safe. And safety comes from calm, space, presence, not from being cornered at the end of a long day, or hit with serious issues during a rushed moment, or blindsided in public, or forced into a conversation while they're emotionally flooded. Think of it like planting a seed. If the ground is frozen, nothing's going to grow. But if it's soft, warm, open, that seed has a chance. Your words are the same. Timing determines whether they're heard, or whether they bounce off a wall of defensiveness. Instead of jumping in with, "We need to talk," when the energy is tense, try something different. Try, "Hey, there's something on my mind. Is now a good time to talk about it?" Or, I want to bring this up in a way that feels safe for both of us. When would be a good time? That alone changes the entire dynamic. Because now it's not an attack, it's a collaboration. You're not forcing the conversation, you're inviting it. And if your partner says, "I'm not in the right headspace right now," don't take it personally. That's not rejection, that's regulation. That's them trying not to react from a place of stress or exhaustion. Let them breathe. Let them come back when they're grounded. You'll have a way better chance of being heard. Same goes for you. Don't have heavy conversations when you're not regulated. If you're spiraling, triggered, half asleep, or filled with adrenaline, pause. Give yourself space. You don't have to fix everything right now. Sometimes the best move is to say, "I need a little time to process this. Can we talk in an hour?" Urgency doesn't equal importance. Just because something feels heavy in the moment doesn't mean it has to be dumped immediately. Let the heat cool, then speak from clarity, not chaos. Because healthy communication isn't just about honesty, it's about wisdom. And wisdom means knowing when someone is able to hear you, not just when you feel ready to speak. So, if you've ever felt like your partner never listens, ask yourself, am I choosing the right time? If you've ever felt like things always turn into fights, ask yourself, am I bringing it up in the middle of tension? If you've ever felt ignored, ask yourself, did I give them space to actually receive what I was saying? The message might be right. The emotion might be real. But if the timing's off, it won't land. Let your love breathe. Let the conversation come when both of you can actually be there. Because that's what communication needs to thrive. Not just truth, but timing.